Hi YouTube. Welcome to part 3 of Astrology of Health and Nutrition. And today I'm going to talk about the signs and their rulership of the sections of the body. This is listed in the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. It's this book right here. It's a compendium of Vedic astrology. I've had it for many years. And it's in volume 1, and in that volume he lists all those sections of the body and which sign rules those sections. If you have afflictions to certain signs, you may have injuries in those sections of the body or problems with those organs in the sections. This is different than the last two videos I did where I explained the planets and what systems, what organ systems and bodily systems that they ruled. If you're interested in that, check out my last two videos. This has to do with sections of the body. So they all come into play when you're looking at someone's horoscope. You can see what organ systems are afflicted and also what sections of the body are afflicted. So if you have Saturn in a certain sign, usually you can have problems with that section of the body, or if you have Saturn and Rahu in a sign, you can have injuries to that part of the body, which I do. This is what I have, Saturn in the north node of the moon, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So yeah, so just follow along and let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I want to reiterate, I think I said this in my first video, but I really need to say it in every video, that I use the Tropical Zodiac. I do not use the Sidereal Zodiac in any shape or form except for nakshatras, which is something different. But I use this Tropical Zodiac, that's what I was taught, and I've experimented with both. I was using Sidereal, which is about 24 degrees back. Everything goes back about 24 degrees. That's what they use in India. They use something called the Shanks. And I don't use that. I use the Tropical Zodiac, which is European astrology, basically, Roman and Greek, and some Persian. But yeah, so if you are a Western astrologer, you don't have to change any of those positions. And I'm trying to gear this towards Western astrologers because it's not that difficult. When people look at Vedic astrology, they're like, oh, it's so complicated and difficult. There's all these things you have to memorize. There's all these crazy Sanskrit terms, and it really isn't that bad. It really isn't like that, and I really want Western astrologers to learn some of the Vedic techniques, because I learned Western astrology as well, and the Vedic system gives you so many more tools and so many different techniques to predict with that I think it's invaluable. And I think that you can learn it if you try. So, so here we go. Okay, having said that, I'm going to start with Aries. And Aries rules the head and the organ in the head, which is the brain and the hypothalamus, and also the skull and the pineal gland, pituitary gland, and the hair. Thoughts and inspiration come from the brain and the head. So Aries is said to be the sign of inspiration, and Aries is also it connotes the first day of spring, happens in Aries, or the beginning of Aries, and so Aries is very full of life and likes to act on impulse. And the sun, which is the most masculine planet, but it's also, in Vedic astrology, the sun denotes the soul. It doesn't represent the ego, it represents the soul. So in the Vedic system and in Western, the sun is exalted in Aries. It's in the best place it could be. So all of you Aries out there, if you're called Aries, that means your sun is exalted. You get a lot of inspiration. You like to follow your impulses, and you work hard. And also the thing about thoughts and inspiration is they're very changeable. So Aries is a movable sign or a changeable sign. But if they do find an inspiration that they love, they usually follow it through with it. And then, so afflictions to Aries can cause head injuries or brain tumors or, problems with your pituitary or pineal gland. I have Saturn and Rahu in Aries. Yikes. It's not very good. But I also have Venus there, but that's a different story. Saturn and Rahu cause a lot of changes, and they're hard to diagnose when they're together. They can cause injury, Saturn especially. And everyone that was born a year and a half older, everyone that's a year and a half older than me, from my age up to a year and a half older than me, will have Saturn and Rahu and Aries. I'm not going to tell you all, but that's just the way it is. And this certain frame of time, Saturn and Rahu were in Aries together for about a year and a half. And so I have injuries in my head. I've had two. When I was bucked off a horse, when I was 10 years old, the horse started to buck and threw me into a barbed wire fence. And I have they rushed me to the hospital, and I have a huge scar in my head where they sewed me up. And then one time I was playing basketball, and I kind of got it disoriented, and I hit my head into a stucco wall, and it just ripped my head out, my scalp, and blood was coming down. It didn't really hurt that bad, but there was a lot of blood. So I have injuries to my head because of that. So the next one, Taurus. Taurus rules the face and all the organs in the face, the senses, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the tongue, and it rules the parathyroid and the thyroid. And Taurus rules the most important senses, which are designed to give pleasure, but also to alert us to danger and keep us alive. And we breathe through our mouth and through our nose. So Taurus represents what nourishes us and what keeps us alive. Okay, so the next one is Gemini. And Gemini rules the arms, the shoulders, the hands, and the clavicle. Now, our hands make us unique among animals, land animals, and sea animals for that matter. We take our arms in our hands, and we create that which is in our environment. We take what's in our environment and create with our hands. We write with our hands, thus Gemini is affiliated with communication. And hands can be used to create or destroy. Afflictions to Gemini will manifest as shoulder or arm injuries, and it can be severe arthritis in your hands or in these areas. The next one is Cancer. Cancer rules the chest area and the organs in the chest. We experience emotions in the chest and in the lungs, really, and in the heart, of course. The Sanskrit word for chest is hrit, which means heart. And the lungs are in the chest. We change our breath when we experience emotion. And when we cry, we suck in a lot of air, when you sob. So we suck in a lot of air to the lungs. And in Chinese medicine, they say sadness resides in our lungs. So because we're when you're crying. So and also they say smokers have a problem with sadness. They don't want to experience the sadness, or they have too much sadness. So that's because their lungs, they're abusing their lungs, and they don't want to feel that. And Cancer is also a movable sign like Aries. It's the first day of summer, it's the beginning of summer, and so it's also a very changeable sign because our emotions are very changeable. So, and the organs in the chest are the lungs, the heart, the ribs, the breasts, and the first 4 thoracic vertebrae. Afflictions to Cancer can manifest as these organs or bones. And I have a slight affliction to Cancer as well, and I can tell you I developed about a year ago exercise-induced asthma. And but I was cured with homeopathy, believe it or not. But so and it was an emotionally based thing. So and then and so the next one is Leo, and Leo rules the cavity, the stomach, abdomen area, and that contains the stomach, liver, kidneys, spleen, and gallbladder, plus glands that regulate our energy levels. Leo rules charisma and confidence, strength of personality, due to its rulership of these vitalizing, energizing, or these vital and energizing organs. In the skeletal system, Leo rules the ribs below the sternum and the last four thoracic vertebrae. So afflictions to Leo can show up in these organs that are, very important. Liver, kidneys, spleen, obviously. Those are extremely important, and they're all vital organs. So, so the Virgo. Virgo rules hips, and it rules the area from the top of your hip bone to where the top of the femur bone inserts into the pelvis. And it includes the intestines, the small intestines and the large intestine. And it's the work of taking the nutrients from the food and changing it to energy for the blood and the body. As a metaphor, Virgo is known for perfection or purification. Virgos can be perfectionists and fussy, and they're known for that. Or if they have a lot of planets in Virgo, just not the sun in Virgo. But and so it's all about taking the best and leaving the worst, as waste is discarded by the body. 70% of diseases start in the large intestine. So Virgo is known as the sign of disease. It's in afflicted planets in Virgo can cause problems, just like afflicted planets in the 6th house, which is the house of health and disease, corresponding to Virgo, can cause some health problems to whatever those planets signify. And also the lumbar vertebrae. Virgo rules the lumbar vertebrae and of the spine. So that's the part of the spine that is most commonly injured. Everyone complains about a bad back, or they strain their back. That's the lower back down here. Because it does a lot of work, just like our intestines. So afflicted planets in Virgo will show weaknesses, but not in a bad way. It's weaknesses that we need to develop our skills and our effort to overcome. So that's, a Virgo has the reputation of hard work. It also has that reputation because Virgo is the time of year where you collect the harvest, which is a lot of work. Okay, so Libra. Excuse me. Libra rules the pelvic triangle. I'm sorry. I got something bad. Okay. And it holds the bladder and the rectum and the internal reproductive organs like the ovaries and the prostate. Because Libra rules the internal productive organs, it symbolizes creation through interchange. This is why Libra is the sign of business and trade, and it makes for good businessmen and leaders. A lot of really powerful leaders have a lot of Libra. Napoleon is one example. They instinctivly know what is of value, and hence the sign of the lady holding the scales. And they know what is of value and what can be discarded. And they have to make the choice between what is really valuable to them and what isn't. Afflictions to Libra can show up in hip problems and also to the internal, like prostate gland. My dad actually had a lot of prostate problems, and he had severe afflictions to Libra. So there you go. Okay, Scorpio is the covered parts. Scorpio is the external sexual organs, and they are vulnerable because they're not protected by the strength of bone or by flesh, just basically skin. And Scorpio represents vulnerabilities that we make an incredible attempt to protect. And Scorpios are protecting that which is vulnerable. Scorpio has this very intense, emotional, deep reputation. And they feel things extremely, they're very, very sensitive, but they cover it up. So, because they're vulnerable. So, that's Scorpio. And so anyway, afflictions to Scorpio can show up to problems with external sexual organs. So then Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius through Pisces, actually no, Sagittarius and Capricorn are different than the Western astrology, what they rule, the sections of the body they rule. And Parashara is very explicit about this, because people tend to get these mixed up. Sagittarius rules the butt, your gluteus maximus, okay? And the glutes are the largest muscle in the human body and responsible for moving the body and walking and running. And because of our butt, because humans have a butt more than any other land animal, we have the advantage over land animals in that we can travel longer distances in a day. Any four-legged animal can beat a human in short distances, of course, but a fit human, not one that eats a standard American diet, but a fit one, they can travel more distance than an animal over the long term. And this is because of the butt muscles. We can walk all day. If we're fit, we can walk, for hours, where an animal can't do that. You'll see when I go on hikes with my dogs, they will tire out because they're all running around, exploring the woods, and then they're just beat, after a half an hour or an hour, and just kind of trailing behind me. And I'm just, fine because I'm not wearing myself out, but I could just walk forever. So then also, and Sagittarius man has long-term goals and animals have short-term instinctive goals. And Sag is a centaur with a bow and an arrow. He sees a mark and a purpose and goes for it. So Sagittarius is very much a sign of purposefulness. They have to have a purpose to what they're doing. It's a goal-oriented sign, very much. And also a philosophical sign. It's the 9th sign. And the 9th house has to do with philosophy and that kind of thing. So the butt is very, because it allows us to travel so long to get to where we need to go, then, that's very Sagittarius trait. And that's why Parashara assigns the butt to Sagittarius. Okay. Capricorn is the thighs. A lot of people misinterpret Capricorn to mean knees, but the knee is really just a joint, an intersection between the thigh bone and the shank bones. So Capricorn is the thighs to the top of the knee. And the Sanskrit word for thighs is janu. It's often incorrectly translated as knees, but it means thighs. Okay? Where do we go here? Oh. Sorry, this is have my notes here. Okay, so now the thighs get tired out much more quickly than the butt does. And when we're hiking or something, we're thinking, oh, my legs are hurting, they're so tired. But in reality, it's more of our butt that's doing the work, but the thighs think they're doing the work. Our butt is what moves our legs more than our, and when we sit down and get up, our butt is doing a lot of the work. But the thighs tend to get sore first, definitely. And so Capricorn has to do with work, but it also has to do with renouncing the fruits of that work, or renouncing the fruits of those actions. A Capricorn works for work's sake, not for receiving the actions. And when a Capricorn gets where they get into trouble is when they think they want to receive all of the rewards that they think they've worked so hard for, but they don't receive it. Then they get very depressed, and that can weigh heavily on them. So that's kind of the spiritual or metaphorical definition of the thighs. And so, of course, afflictions to Capricorn can show up in leg problems, or arthritis in your thighs, or weak thighs, or injury to your thigh, anything like that, or even the top of your knee too. It shows up a lot in the top, like if you have an ACL injury, which is really big around here in Colorado. That's can show up as an affliction to Capricorn. Okay, Aquarius. Aquarius are the shanks, or the calves. And the calves are intermediary in connecting the power from the butt and thighs to the feet. And they start from the top of the knee to the ankle. That's the shank. Now Aquarius is very much about being completely happy and secure in our individuality. That's what Aquarius means. And also they have to renounce what others feel about them, more so than any other sign. And accept everything about themselves in the good and bad. It's completely an individualizing sign. It's a very intellectual sign too, because if they accept themselves in totality, they are able to do great things and come up with amazing ideas, being an air sign. And we stand on our feet, or I'm sorry, that's I'm getting ahead of myself. But so afflictions to Aquarius can show up also in knee problems, the lower part of the knee, and calf and ankle problems, the top part of the ankles. So now Pisces is the feet, and we stand upon our feet, so they represent understanding. That's what Pisces is about, understanding. And it's the farthest from the brain. The feet is the farthest from the head, obviously. So it's very much a sign of the loss of thinking and just kind of absorbing into the totality of everything. Like kind of a Zen type of thing. But Pisces the zodiac is a circle. So Pisces is right next to Aries. And Aries is very much about thinking and inspiration. Pisces is just about understanding the all, or everything. And to understand completely, we must renounce how we feel about ourselves. That's the next thing. Now, I really want to point this out. The last three signs, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, they're not connected to the spine. There's no vertebrae or the tailbone or any of that all of the other signs have. And so it's very, those last three signs, if you have a lot of planets, not just the sun, but a lot of planets in these last three signs, it's very much about showing some type of human renunciation. In Capricorn, you renounce the fruits of your labor. In Aquarius, you renounce what others think about you. And in Pisces, you renounce what you think about yourself. So, and like I said, the afflictions to these signs can show up in injuries to those parts of the body. Okay? So yeah, that's the end. I've covered all the signs. And just check out my website if you want to. I put it down in the description. And I'm going to do maybe 2 more videos about astrology of health and nutrition. This has more to do with a little bit more with Chinese medicine mixed in with the Vedic system. and some remedies that you can do, natural remedies, which I strongly advocate. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.